Hey everyone! Are you ready to take your English listening skills to the next level? In today's video, we've put together a fantastic listening practice session designed to help you understand native speakers more easily. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's improve your English together. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a lesson. Let's get started.
Hey Chloe, do you ever find yourself sitting by the window on a quiet rainy afternoon and suddenly getting pulled back decades into the past? I was looking through some old photo albums in my attic this morning, and it felt like opening a time capsule. It made me realize how vastly different our lives were back then compared to the fast-paced routine we have now.
I know exactly what you mean, Alex. It is funny you bring that up because just last weekend, I found an old, slightly worn-out wooden marble in the pocket of an antique coat. The moment my fingers touched it, I was instantly transported back to my grandmother's backyard. We really lived in a completely different world back then, didn't we? No smartphones, no constant notifications, just endless afternoons stretched out before us. What kind of pictures did you find in your attic?
Oh, so many. But the one that stopped me in my tracks was a slightly faded photograph of my grandfather's old wooden barn out in the countryside. That place was the backdrop of what I consider the absolute best memory of my childhood. Every summer, my parents would drop my sister and me off at my grandparents' farm for a whole month. There was this giant oak tree right at the edge of the property, overlooking a gentle stream. One summer, my grandfather helped us construct a treehouse using leftover timber, mismatched nails, and pure imagination. It wasn't just a treehouse to us, it was our fortress, our pirate ship, and our secret sanctuary.
That sounds like a dream. Building things from scratch always creates the deepest memories because you put your whole heart into it. How long did it take you to build it?
It took us nearly 2 full weeks of continuous work. Every morning, we would wake up to the smell of fresh pancakes made by my grandmother, rush through breakfast, and head straight for that oak tree. My grandfather taught us how to measure twice and cut once, how to hammer nails without bending them, and how to tie sturdy knots. The best part wasn't even the finished treehouse, it was the process itself, the scent of pine wood, the rough texture of sawdust, and the feeling of absolute pride when we finally climbed up onto our sturdy platform for the very first time.
That is so heartwarming. You can still feel the passion in your voice when you talk about it. My absolute best childhood memory is actually quite similar in spirit, though the setting was completely different. It revolves around the annual family road trips we used to take every August. My parents would pack up our dusty old station wagon with camping gear, blankets, and coolers full of sandwiches. We would drive for hours along the coastal highway with the windows rolled down, singing along to old cassette tapes that my dad had collected over the years.
Ah, the classic family road trip. There is something magical about being trapped in a car with your family for hours with nothing to do but talk, look at the landscape, and make up silly games. Where was your destination during those trips?
We always headed toward a quiet national park nestled near a secluded bay. My favorite memory took place on a night when a sudden thunderstorm rolled in while we were camping. Instead of panicking, my dad pulled out extra lanterns, and my mother opened up a giant thermos of hot chocolate she had prepared earlier. We sat inside our cozy tent, listening to the thunder rumble across the ocean and the heavy rain drumming against the canvas roof. We spent hours telling ghost stories, laughing at old family jokes, and watching the shadows dance on the tent walls. It was the moment I felt safest and happiest in my entire life.
Isn't it fascinating how the simplest moments often become the grandest memories? You didn't need fancy gadgets or expensive trips, just a warm drink, a good storm, and the people you love. That sense of cozy security is something we spend our adult lives trying to recreate.
Absolutely. It is the emotional warmth of those moments that sticks with us forever. But speaking of growing up, childhood wasn't just about family vacations and lazy summers, a huge part of our world revolved around school. When you look back at your school years, is there one specific memory that stands out above all the rest?
Oh, definitely. In fact, it is a memory that started out as a complete disaster but turned into one of the most triumphant moments of my young life. It happened in the 5th grade during the annual district science fair. My best friend Leo and I had spent 3 weeks building a working model of a hydraulic drawbridge made entirely of popsicle sticks, syringes, and water tubes. We were so proud of it and spent countless hours painting it and testing the hydraulic pressure.
Let me guess, something went wrong right before the presentation?
You guessed correctly. Just 10 minutes before the judges were supposed to evaluate our table, another student accidentally bumped into our display while carrying a heavy project board. Our bridge collapsed, the plastic tubing snapped, and water burst everywhere across our table. Leo looked like he was about to burst into tears, and I froze in absolute panic. We had worked so hard, and in a split second, our whole project looked like a pile of wet trash.
Oh no, that sounds agonizing. What did you guys do? Did you manage to fix it in 10 minutes?
We had no choice but to try. We didn't have time to rebuild the structure, so we quickly gathered all the broken pieces, grabbed a roll of heavy-duty duct tape from the janitor, and improvised. We reattached the tubes, taped the bridge joints together in a chaotic web, and wiped down the soggy poster board. When the judges finally arrived at our station, our bridge looked less like an elegant architectural masterpiece and more like a battle-damaged fortress.
How did the judges react when they saw it?
That was the plot twist. Instead of trying to hide the mess, we decided to be completely honest. We explained what the bridge was supposed to look like, showed them the hydraulic mechanics, and admitted that we had just patched it up with tape minutes prior. To our shock, the judges were incredibly impressed by our quick thinking, problem-solving skills, and calm attitude under pressure. They gave us an honorable mention award for resilience. That moment taught me that perfection isn't as important as adaptability, and it became a memory I will treasure forever.
That is brilliant. Honestly, overcoming an unexpected obstacle makes for a much better memory than a smooth, effortless win. My most memorable school story is also about a high-stakes event, but it took place on the stage rather than in a science hall. It was during our middle school's winter theater performance. I was extremely shy back then, but my drama teacher somehow convinced me to audition, and I ended up landing the lead role in a play about a time-traveling explorer.
Wow, the lead role? That must have been terrifying for a shy kid. How did you cope with the stage fright?
Terrifying doesn't even begin to describe it. On opening night, standing behind the heavy red curtain, my hands were shaking so much I could barely hold my prop compass. The auditorium was packed with parents, teachers, and students. When the curtain finally opened and the spotlight hit me, my mind went completely blank for 5 agonizing seconds. The silence in the hall felt heavy, and I could hear my heart pounding in my ears.
Oh, I can feel the tension just hearing you describe it. How did you break out of that freeze?
I looked into the second row and saw my English teacher, Mrs. Gable, smiling encouragingly and giving me a subtle thumb up. That tiny gesture broke the spell. I took a deep breath, stepped into character, and delivered my opening monologue. Once I got past those first few lines, the fear completely vanished and was replaced by an exhilarating wave of energy. I remembered every line, every cue, and every movement we had rehearsed.
And the crowd loved it, I assume?
When the final curtain came down and the entire auditorium erupted into applause, I felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. My friends ran backstage to hug me, and my parents brought me a bouquet of wild flowers. That night completely transformed my self-confidence. It proved to me that I was capable of stepping outside my comfort zone and succeeding. Even now, whenever I have to give a major speech or presentation at work, I think back to that night under the stage lights.
It is amazing how one single evening in school can reshape your whole personality and build lifelong confidence. School wasn't just about textbooks, it was where we discovered who we truly were under pressure.
Exactly. And when we weren't stressing over exams, science fairs, or stage plays, we were busy immersing ourselves in the magical world of games. Thinking back, what was your favorite childhood game, Alex?
Without a second thought, my absolute favorite game was an elaborate, neighborhood-wide version of hide-and-seek played at twilight, which we simply called sardines. Do you know how that game works?
Is that the reverse version of hide and seek, where only one person hides and everyone else searches for them?
Spot on. Only one person hides, and as each seeker finds that person, they have to quietly squeeze into the exact same hiding spot without alerting the remaining players. By the end of the game, you end up with 10 kids packed like sardines into a tiny garden shed, under a porch, or behind a thick hedge, trying desperately not to laugh or breathe loudly.
Oh, I remember playing that. The tension in that game was unbelievable. One loud giggle or a squeaky shoe could instantly give away the entire hiding spot to the last remaining seeker.
Yes. We used to play it in our neighborhood right when the sun started setting and the streetlights began to flicker on. There was a huge overgrown garden behind my neighbor's house full of ancient oak trees, bushes, and stone walls. Hiding in the dim light, hearing the footsteps of the seekers crunching on dry leaves nearby, holding your breath until your lungs burned, it was pure, unfiltered thrill. There was something magical about the atmosphere of dusk, the cool evening air, and the sheer joy of remaining undiscovered.
That sounds like so much fun. Games back then had an element of raw physical adventure that kids today rarely get to experience with video games. My absolute favorite childhood game was a bit different. It was an imaginative outdoor role-playing game that my neighborhood friends and I invented, called The Lost Kingdom.
The Lost Kingdom? Tell me how that worked.
We transformed our entire local park into an imaginary fantasy realm. The wooden playground structure was our central castle, the sandpit was a treacherous desert, the grassy field was a vast ocean, and the small cluster of pine trees at the back was an enchanted forest. Each of us chose a specific character. I was usually the mapmaker and tracker, my friend Ben was the knight commander, and my sister was the royal scholar.
That sounds incredible. Did you have rules, or did you just make up the story as you played?
We had a mix of both. We created a drawn map on an old piece of brown cardboard, complete with mythical monster icons and hidden treasure markers. We would spend entire Saturday afternoons embarking on quests, searching for magic artifacts, which were really just unusually shiny river rocks or strangely shaped pine cones, and defending our castle from imaginary shadow beasts. We didn't need fancy props or expensive costumes. A sturdy fallen branch became a legendary sword, and an old towel tied around our shoulders served as a royal cape.
That is the true magic of childhood imagination. You didn't need virtual reality or high-definition graphics, your minds were powerful enough to turn a simple park into an entire universe.
Exactly. We would start playing right after lunch and stay in character until our parents called us home for dinner as the sun went down. My feet would be covered in dirt, my hair tangled with twigs, but my heart was overflowing with joy. Looking back, those games taught us creativity, teamwork, and storytelling far better than any classroom lesson ever could.
Reading, playing, exploring, it really makes you appreciate how rich our childhoods were. We had the freedom to explore our surroundings, test our limits, make mistakes, and build bonds that lasted a lifetime.
It really does. Sharing these stories with you today makes me realize that even though we have grown up, taken on adult responsibilities, and moved into different chapters of our lives, those memories remain an anchor. They remind us of who we are at our core, curious, adventurous, resilient, and full of wonder.
I couldn't agree more, Chloe. Reminiscing about these moments really warms the soul. We should definitely make a habit of taking these nostalgic trips down memory lane more often.
Absolutely, Alex. Next time, let us bring out those old photo albums over a cup of coffee and share even more stories.